The Music Box by Harmony Pie, read by Deathlight. The wind let out a wailing cry from beyond the warmly lit room, rattling the windows behind their tightly drawn curtains. Fluttershy wrapped her sweater more tightly around her as she carefully lifted the mug of steaming hot cocoa to her lips. Still too hot. She placed her poetry book down, folding the page. Fluttershy let out a sigh and set the mug on the table beside the couch. Another bout of wind whistled through the dark night, but Fluttershy tried her best to ignore the sound, fuzzy ears flicking. In her living room, she was safe from the blizzardy ice storm and chilling howls beneath a blackened sky. The Pegasi had been a bit behind on the weather schedule, and as Rainbow explained to her that beautiful day, they needed a doozy of a snowstorm to make up for it. In the morning, Fluttershy envisioned a wonderful white wonderland, just right for snow angels. She gazed up to the decorations hung up around the room, trailing up the small, yet somehow perfect tree. And of course, just right for horse forming tomorrow. Fluttershy admired the orange glow from the fire that reflected off the shining ornaments and stars, a sense of calmness washing over her. She was ready to celebrate the day with her friends, laughing and exchanging presents, wasn't she? Fluttershy nodded to herself, nuzzling against the couch, as the fire licked the logs with each crackle. She should go to bed soon, but it was so nice here, with the smell of pine and candles in the air, with all the animals in bed, including her stubborn little bunny. Fluttershy decided that it wouldn't hurt to fall asleep to the sound of the whispering winds and the bending trees. She let her eyes slide closed, welcoming the gentle embrace of sleep. Fluttershy started awake, her wings splaying out at her sides. She pulled herself to her shaking hooves, heart pounding within her breast. Oh my, who could be possibly visiting her door at such an hour? She took a careful step closer, wings quivering. Well, if it was any pony, it would be quite rude to let them freeze to death. Fluttershy reached out with a hoof, hesitantly unlocking the door and creaking it open. "Hello?" she whispered, quivering as a blast of cold swept into her sanctuary and scattered snow across her coat. "Fluttershy?" Fluttershy yelped, throwing the door wide open. "Rainbow Dash?" She rushed towards the mare on her snowy doorstep, her rainbow mane speckled and lapped with ice. Without a second thought, she wrapped her hooves tight around Rainbow, breath catching in her throat, when her forearms met the Pegasus's freezing fur. "Rainbow, what are you doing here?" Fluttershy managed to ask, clouds billowing out from both her nostrils. As she stepped back, Fluttershy realized with dismay that Rainbow wasn't even wearing a scarf, just a small saddlebag thrown across her back. Rainbow laughed hoarsely, her brilliant eyes meeting Fluttershy's in the midnight darkness. Yet, something was different about them. Something was wrong. "Well, do you think we can at least get inside before we talk? I'm freezing my flank off." She smiled, the corners of her mouth lifting up only slightly. Ah, there it was. Fluttershy bit her lip. But she couldn't just stand there. She quickly pulled her friend inside the warm room, shutting the door behind her with a thud. "Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me get you something," Fluttershy said, brushing past the shivering Rainbow to the closet. "Luna, where was it?" She turned back to Rainbow, who had seated herself on the couch, fidgeting with her hooves. Something was most definitely wrong with her. She knew the signs well enough. Fluttershy brushed the hair from her eyes, glancing hurriedly into the closet. I'm sure there's a nice fluffy blanket I can get you. Rainbow started to protest, but Fluttershy let out a squeal of triumph as she pulled out the woven blanket from the back of the closet. Here, she murmured, stumbling over and wrapping the blanket around Rainbow. Rainbow squirmed, but the relief on her face was clear. Thank you, she muttered, glancing downwards as her cheeks flushed pink, dancing with firelight. Fluttershy nodded, sitting down beside her as she dusted the snow from Rainbow's mane. It was silent for the moment, save for the stubborn roar of the wind and Rainbow's shallow breaths. Fluttershy finally looked up to meet Rainbow's gaze, leaning in to nuzzle her. Are you ready to tell me why you're here? Fluttershy whispered. She could wait as long as she needed, but she hated to see Rainbow Dash look so unsure of herself. Rainbow's ear twitched, and she swallowed hard. Couldn't I just come to see you? She replied, winking. But Fluttershy only furrowed her brow. Was it simply to see her? She tightened the sweater around herself. Why, that was ridiculous. Sighing, she grabbed Rainbow's hooves in her own. You just came to see me in the middle of the night during a snowstorm? She replied, raising her eyebrow. She would have laughed if Rainbow didn't look so serious. Rainbow's face colored, and she coughed, pulling away. Fine, she muttered, avoiding Fluttershy's eyes. I also came to... She took a deep breath. Talk to you. Fluttershy tucked her back legs beneath her, making sure Rainbow was no longer shivering. Do you want some hot chocolate? She asked softly. Rainbow jerked to attention. What? Fluttershy giggled, shaking her head. Hot chocolate, Rainbow. I think it helps ponies talk. Also, it is pretty sweet, she said. I do have my own, but if you like, I can go make another. No, it's okay, Rainbow said quickly. I can try some of yours. Fluttershy blinked, bewildered. Are you sure? She hesitantly held up her mug between them. She supposed she didn't mind. But Rainbow wasn't usually one for being touchy. Rainbow nodded sharply. I don't mind at all, Shy, she said. I don't want to make you get up. It's not too hot, is it? Fluttershy wrinkled her nose, taking a gentle sip of the thick, chocolatey drink. Oh, this time, it was perfect. Just the right amount of tiny marshmallows, too. Nope. Fluttershy hoofed over the drink, watching without a word as Rainbow sipped from the same spot. When she looked up, a deep redness that spread across her cyan muzzle. Fluttershy drew in a breath at that. Rainbow, are you alright? You look a little flustered. Is the fire too warm? Rainbow swiped furiously at her mouth, pulling away at the blanket. No, I'm good. Don't worry, everything's fine, she assured with a wide grin. Is it? Fluttershy asked, leaning against the back of the couch. Rainbow's face was shadowed and tight. Fluttershy felt a knot of worry wind up in her belly. It didn't look like everything was fine. Rainbow took another gulp of hot chocolates, hurriedly clanking it back down on the table. Everything, well, I do need to tell you something. She started, voice cracking. Okay. Fluttershy said simply. She knew this. I'll listen. That was what Fluttershy had learned over many years. Ponies sometimes just needed a good listener to confide in, especially Rainbow Dash, even if she was a heartache to crack. And Fluttershy liked to think of herself as a very good listener. Rainbow's facade of a smile fell and shattered on the floor. Fluttershy? Rainbow trailed off, then groaned, cursing a word under her breath that Fluttershy would not dare repeat. Rainbow's eyes widened. Celestia, I'm sorry. It's just... why is it so hard? Rainbow sighed heavily, burying her face in her hooves. Fluttershy scooted over, wrapping her forearms around her friend. Why don't you just start from the beginning? She asked quietly, hating how the bundle of blankets shuddered. Rainbow cleared her throat. Yeah, sure, the beginning, she muttered. She inhaled deeply, returning the embrace. Remember flight camp? Fluttershy's eyes widened. Flight camp? She remembered every single detail vividly, both the good and the bad. It was where she had met the fiery-tempered, messy-maned Pegasus. Fluttershy smiled. Of course I remember. It was some of the best years of my life. Rainbow grinned glassily back at her. I know that, Shy. It was mine too. She took another fumbling sip of her hot chocolate. Although Gilda might have been a bit of a downer, she added, followed by a raspy laugh. Fluttershy tried her best to ignore how forced it sounded. Oh, she wasn't that bad, she murmured, wincing at Rainbow's bewildered expression. You're kidding, right? She was a huge jerk. Rainbow gritted her teeth. Gilda made you cry almost every night because of those stupid nicknames. Fluttershy squeaked, pressing her ears back against her head. Rainbow was right after all. Well, I guess she was pretty mean sometimes. Rainbow scoffed. All the time. I can't believe I was friends with her. She glanced down, her eyes shining. But you always came to me for help, didn't you? Fluttershy wet her lips, mind racing back to the highlight of her days at flight camp. She would always run desperately to Rainbow's dorm, swallowing down tears as the never-ending taunts repeated over and over again in her head. Rainbow would let her in, and she fell against her chest, hugging and comforting her as she cried. When night fell on the camp, Fluttershy would sleep in the same bed as her friend. Her rugged snores lulled her away to sleep as she snuggled beneath the covers. Those were the only times she felt safe with Rainbow Dash. Oh, you softy, Fluttershy whispered, booping Rainbow on the nose. Rainbow flushed, rubbing the back of her neck. Yeah, well, I couldn't let my best friend cry by herself in her own room now, was I? Rainbow retorted, a bit of a smirk creeping onto her face. Fluttershy giggled, closing her eyes for a moment. The grandfather clock clicked rhythmically in the background, counting the passing seconds in their silence. Rainbow sighed. Yeah, it was nice. Fluttershy peeked out from behind the curtain of pink hair. Oh, Rainbow? Was there something wrong? She thought it had been a happy memory. Rainbow blinked fast. Oh, sorry, I was just thinking, you know. She bit down on her lip, tussling with her Tom Coltish mane. You like sleeping with and next to me, right? Fluttershy knitted her eyebrows, watching as Rainbow Dash offered an awkward smile. Gosh, she hoped she'd never shown that she didn't. Rainbow had always been so warm and secure on rainy, dark nights. Well, why wouldn't I? Fluttershy said, letting out a breath of a soft laugh. I didn't come to your room every night because I didn't want to sleep with you. At those words, Rainbow burned scarlet, the color of Fluttershy's flowering carnations in the summer. She immediately tried to hide it with a hoof. What an Equestria was with her? Fluttershy didn't think she had said anything wrong. Rainbow coughed, shaking her head vigorously. Yeah, 'cause I know, Shy, just checking. I liked it too. Fluttershy cocked her head to the side. Rainbow was sure acting strange, like she was embarrassed. But, of course, she came here to talk about things. Right. Rainbow muttered, tilting her head back. What about the fall formal? Fluttershy tugged at her tail, pressing her lips together. That was an interesting night, I guess. She sighed, watching Rainbow carefully. She had been so nervous that no pony would ask her out to the dance that she had decided to stay home instead, until a sweet cold had asked her out a night before. Fluttershy had been elated and rightfully a nervous wreck. but decided to go and see what it was like. The colt was almost as shy as Fluttershy herself, and they had hardly danced at all, but she supposed it was nice. After inspecting the sugary punch in the back to discover that it was indeed spiked, Fluttershy found Rainbow outside by herself beneath the full moon. Rainbow had been dumped by her date once he revealed to her that he had only gone out with her on a dare. She had confessed to Fluttershy that his friends wanted to see the infamous loudmouth Tom Colt would dress up for the dance. It was odd to see Rainbow with mascara running down her face, makeup they so excitedly applied that night, and red-rimmed magenta eyes. Rainbow hadn't even attempted to hide it from her. Fluttershy had taken her into her arms, and they walked right home to have their own party. Which, being Fluttershy, was a quiet nature film with warm, fluffy blankets and homemade chocolate chip cookies. Rainbow Dash nudged Fluttershy. "Oh, come on, I was being a sissy," she said. Fluttershy frowned. "No, you weren't," she countered. "I think you were more you than you had ever been before." That was true. Honestly, it was. Rainbow went silent, staring wide-eyed back at her. "Thank you for doing that for me. Taking me to your house, I mean. It was..." Rainbow trailed off, glancing hesitantly up at Fluttershy, who lowered her lashes. "Something you would do for me?" Fluttershy finished, placing her hoof on her shoulder. Rainbow nodded. "Yeah, thank you." Her gaze flickered to the fire, her pupils large and deep. "You were really beautiful that night, Shy," she said suddenly, leaning forward slightly. She looked scared somehow. Fluttershy took a moment to find her voice, throat going dry. "Oh, thank you. I tried hard to look my best. I thought you really looked nice too, Rainbow." Fluttershy replied, giving a tight-lipped smile. Rainbow chuckled, so close to Fluttershy that she could feel her warm breath on her muzzle. Fluttershy tilted back an inch, trying not to let their noses bump together. Why did Rainbow seem so nerved? Fluttershy's thoughts were cut off when, without warning, Rainbow pushed herself forward, pressing her lips against Fluttershy's. Fluttershy's eyes widened. She let out a muffled squeak, falling to her back on the couch. The smell of fresh rain and sunshine filled her nose. Rainbow hair obscuring her vision, as Rainbow wrapped her forelimbs tightly around her. It took Fluttershy a moment to register in her mind what was happening. She was kissing her. Rainbow Dash was kissing her. Fluttershy gasped, panic kicking into overdrive as she flailed, shoving herself away from Rainbow. She tumbled to the floor in a heap, her heart pounding loudly in her ears. "Rainbow!" She choked out, struggling to pull herself up. Her head swam, and her lips tasted like cinnamon. She touched her mouth shakily. Rainbow stood up, her expression unreadable as she stared down at Fluttershy. "Sorry," she muttered coldly, her cheeks blood red. She took up her saddlebags with fumbling hooves and tossed it back to Fluttershy. "I just wanted to say, I love you." Reality slapped her hard in the face, and Fluttershy gasped, stumbling to her hooves frantically. "Rainbow, wait!" She tripped over the saddlebags, landing smack on the ground behind Rainbow. "Please don't go," she begged. "You have to listen to me." But Rainbow had already pulled the door open and began trotting away, not even looking back. Fluttershy's heart froze. "Rainbow!" she called, breaking into a sprint. The tiny snowflakes were like needles against her coat, and the wind screamed within the deep darkness. Fluttershy squinted, frantically following the blue shape against the raging white snow. She couldn't just let her get away. "Rainbow!" she wheezed, galloping forward with one last burst of speed. Her lungs ached. Rainbow swerved, her wings spread wide apart. But Fluttershy seized the chance and leapt, taking the Pegasus to the ground. "Stop running, Rainbow, please!" Fluttershy pleaded, shaking the frozen snow violently from her mane. Everything she touched was deathly cold, and everything was dark. Beneath her, Rainbow twisted, her fur going pink from the chill. Oh goodness. Fluttershy tugged her up, huddling together for warmth. Rainbow finally relented, her teeth chattering. I'm so sorry, Shy, she breathed. I'm so stupid. Fluttershy only held into her, her body shuddering. Listen to me, she muttered. You're not stupid, you just don't understand. She stood up slowly, pulling Rainbow up beside her. It's too cold, please come back, for me. Rainbow's head jerked, but she didn't say anything. Fluttershy walked by her side, trembling uncontrollably. She wasn't sure if it was just the cold anymore. When she reached her cottage, Fluttershy ushered Rainbow back inside, making sure to bolt and lock the door. She found Rainbow sitting by the fire, her face hidden by her icy hair. Fluttershy took a deep breath, sitting down beside her as the fire's warmth sent little tingles through her body. Rainbow looked up finally. Are you not? She gritted her teeth, drawing out her words. Do you not swing that way? Her features contorted like she was in pain. Fluttershy swallowed hard. What? No, I do, but I can't. She whispered. I had no idea. Rainbow made a strangled guttural sound. Heck, Fluttershy, you can be the most oblivious pony in the whole world. Fluttershy flushed, chewing on her lip. Sorry, she replied. Rainbow furrowed her eyebrows. Don't be sorry about anything, Shy. This entire mess, it's my fault. She tugged at her scarf, pulling her hooves beneath her. She looked like a small child lost in a busy market. Fluttershy cleared her throat, drawing Rainbow's attention back to her. Her heart nearly broken. How long? Rainbow's mouth opened and closed. Nothing. How long? Fluttershy repeated, thumping her hoof on the rug. Rainbow winced. The first time I met you, she said in a low tone. And right now. Fluttershy choked away a cry. Oh, Celestia, how could she have been so thick-headed? I thought you might have felt the same all those times, sleeping together, snuggling after you watch a movie. Rainbow's voice broke, and she forced her gaze down. Fluttershy opened a wing and wrapped it gingerly around Rainbow. Rainbow, look at me, she said gently. Rainbow raised her head slowly, eyes trailing up to meet Fluttershy's. Fluttershy studied her friend's face very carefully, gaze following every familiar curve, blemish, and dimple, finally landing on the claw-shaped birthmark on her neck. Then their eyes finally met, mere inches away. Rainbow's deep pool of magenta danced with light and years of excitement. And something more. Fluttershy reached deep inside herself, listening to the flutter of her heart within her chest. She found a warmth there, a comforting fire of emotion. It was love, without a doubt. Fluttershy broke the stare with a sigh. But it was not the love that Rainbow wanted. I can't, Fluttershy mewed. Please forgive me. Rainbow didn't say more. Rainbow didn't move. Why? One word, one question. So why was it so hard to answer? Fluttershy clenched her jaw to stop the onset of tears. Because you're my sister. Forcing the words out was like poison. She couldn't say otherwise. Rainbow would always be her sister. Her rough, brash, sweet, and loyal sister that she had had and always would love. Rainbow flinched. What? Fluttershy bit down hard on her tongue. I love you so much, Rainbow, but you're like a sister to me. Fluttershy immediately covered her mouth, quivering. I'm so sorry for breaking your heart. Rainbow collapsed, like her strings had been severed. as she turned away. Something wet glistened down her muzzle. Fluttershy pulled Rainbow back into her wing, pressing against her body. Rainbow, she started. Rainbow rubbed harshly against her eyes. You are one of the best ponies I know. You are sweet, strong, beautiful, and amazing. Rainbow dragged herself back up into a sitting position. You are. Fluttershy carved a smile. Rainbow, I know you. You're better than me, better than any pony in Equestria. But I can't. I can't love you like that, like this. Rainbow nodded. I understand, she said numbly. Without another word, Rainbow stood up, heading towards the door. Fluttershy's stomach lurched. Don't, she cried out. But Rainbow only held up her hoof, stopping by the couch and picking up her saddlebag. What she took out was anything but what Fluttershy had been expecting. A music box. Rainbow placed it beside Fluttershy on the rug. It was small, but not too small, and it was a brilliant golden color, weaved along the corners, and topped with golden and pink flower patterns. It stood daintily on 4 pegs, with a heart etched right in the middle. Simple, beautiful, it was just perfect. Fluttershy pried open the box shakily to reveal 2 tiny mares, held permanently in an embrace, as they danced beneath a tiny moon. Pressing her ears back, Fluttershy slowly turned the key. A sweet, heart-warming tune began to play, and the 2 tiny mares started to spin. It was just a heartwarming Eve gift I thought you might like, Rainbow explained faintly. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Rainbow, really. Rainbow bent down, reaching out to turn the key of the music box. When she stood up, a ghostly smile played on her lips. She held out her hoof to Fluttershy. May I have this dance? Fluttershy's mouth dropped open. Did it dance? Right now? Rainbow's expression didn't waver. Yes. Fluttershy hesitantly took Rainbow's hoof, letting out a squeak as she was yanked forward. Rainbow laughed, her voice husky against Fluttershy's ear. Fluttershy, though, feeling thoroughly bewildered, and as if she might sob, returned the laugh. Rainbow dipped her suddenly, spinning across the room. Rainbow! She gasped, trying desperately to keep up. They swayed to the old music, almost unheard beneath the gasp for air and pounding hooves. Rainbow glided across the floor, though they stumbled in the process, and twirled Fluttershy again. When her eyes opened, she realized that they had both been crying through their laughter. Rainbow's cheeks wet with tears. Fluttershy rested her head on Rainbow's shoulder. I don't know how to dance, she choked out as they stepped side to side. Rainbow grinned crookedly, blinking fast. I don't either. Fluttershy swallowed a laugh, looking away. What are we doing? Rainbow pulled back, face hollow with shadows. Celestia, I don't know, she whispered. But I know what I'm not doing. Rainbow smiled. Letting you cry 'cause of me. Before Fluttershy could fumble with a response, Rainbow let out a cry and swept Fluttershy up into the air, spinning her wildly. Fluttershy squeaked, covering her face as Rainbow tossed her up. For a brief moment of weightlessness, she was scared, but was welcomed back into Rainbow's strong hooves, placed gently back on the couch. Fluttershy gasped with an overwhelming feeling of laughter, and wrapped herself around Rainbow's warm chest. Thanks for catching me, she said finally. Rainbow was quiet for a second. Thanks for letting me. Fluttershy sighed, willing the tears to stop for Rainbow's sake. Fluttershy could pretend it was just one of those many nights they share where they would just get together. Rainbow recklessly happy and Fluttershy following. But when she looked up to the pony above her, she couldn't. Rainbow couldn't either. Rainbow, she said finally. I know this is hard. It's so terrible, and I am sorry. I really am. But please don't let this change anything between us. I love you so much, my sister. She wanted to say that, but she simply hugged her tight. Rainbow knew. Happy Hearthwarming Eve. Happy Hearthwarming Eve, Fluttershy. Hello everyone, as I will always remind you, I do have a Patreon one-time donation, but, I am just a bit sick right now, but I was able to get this out, so I'm happy about that. And, yeah, I was sick even when recording this. I had to stop and start about 4 different times when doing this one. Hopefully it doesn't appear too choppy in the final edit, but I know there's a couple spots. But anyways, I hope I didn't sound too cheesy for this one, because I've never been in a relationship before in my life, so trying to do kind of a deep relationship like that is really hard to do, especially for somebody that's never been one. So hopefully that sounds alright. And I guess with that, I'll leave you. See you later. I don't want you to hear my voice anymore. Bye.